One's age doesn't define one's experience, maturity and success. And I believe that the success is not just of one person, but it's of a community of young people who want to prove that they can, that they should not just be judged by their age. So what I want to do is to inspire fellow Malaysians to see that young people can succeed. When I was fielded as a parliamentary candidate, people said that I shouldn't be a parliamentary candidate, I should start off as a state assemblyman first before I'm given a parliament. What more, such an important parliamentary constituency, which is in Muar, which is the heart of Johor. In Malaysia, having a minister by the age of 25 is not impossible, and I must perform, because in the end I need to prove to Malaysians that it's not just about me, that all young people should be given a chance to lead, and when they're given that chance, they can shine and succeed. I remember during my first time speaking, there was already a parliamentary debate between me and my predecessor, where I was talking about the need for transparency, integrity and an open tender process. And they said, oh no, you don't know about the open tender process. I was like, okay, fine, then these are the list of problems when you do not have an open tender process, and the public judged on their own. So I think in the end, it's a normal part of a parliamentary democracy. There will be those who try to heckle, but that's the fun part of it. Of course, definitely. It goes hand in hand, in tandem. It signals the distrust of the electorate in young people when they say that 18-year-old, they don't know much, they're immature, they cannot think, therefore they cannot be given the right to make a big decision. But ironically, the very same community believes that people as early as 13 to 14 years old can get married. And I don't think it's a controversial statement to say that the decision to get married is humongous in comparison. One's right to vote, which comes every 5 years, and marriage often lasts for a lifetime. But beyond that, I mean, if you look at countries like Indonesia, where in the 1960s, 1970s, young people didn't have access to internet. The rate of literacy was exceptionally low. Tertiary education was minimal. But even then, they gave the rights to young people because they knew that the young people will represent not just the present, but the future. So in Malaysia today, when rate of literacy is almost 95 to 100%, internet penetration is huge, education is getting better and better. So why do people still see young people as incapable? I knew a friend whose study was much better than me, one of the best students back during my high school days, but he made a mistake. And because of that mistake, he spent some time in Henry Gurney. And because he was not given a second chance after, his family sidelined him, friends left him, he didn't get a job because of the criminal record. In the end, an unfortunate tragedy happened. But when I reflect back, that could have been avoided. Everyone deserves a second chance. And the point in which a person is already in prison, goes through the process of retribution and rehabilitation. When a person leaves prison, we should give the person a second chance, because if we don't, then the person will more likely reoffend. We spend so much money on prisons, but in reality, it should be a lot more about rehabilitation, second chances, which can move Malaysia forward. And I care a lot because there are a lot of young ex-penghuni, and I have a responsibility to speak up for these groups, because I believe being in the position which I'm in, I should not just speak up for the privileged youth or for the average youth. It's also about fighting for belia berisiko, because if we sideline this group, we're sidelining one of the most emotionally vulnerable groups in Malaysia. I distinctly remember one of the turning points of the election where I thought from potentially losing with a small margin to winning was what happened during the final night before the day of voting. Convinced to Dr. Mahathir to do a maiden speech, the final speech before the night of election. And we knew obviously RTM, TV3 will never pick this up, but we wanted to test the power of social media. So then we signaled throughout those 14 days before the maiden speech that when Tun Mahathir gives that speech, sharp at 10 PM, everyone stops to watch it. On top of that, we signaled to our supporters, take out your phone, and if you don't go to the ceramah, call your aunties, uncles, friends, family members, atuk and nenek in particular, to come and watch Tun Mahathir speak. Because we knew that if they listen to Tun Mahathir's message, it will break the wall of tyranny. So interestingly, that night when we did it, for the first time I think in Malaysian history, the Facebook Live reached out to 270,000 live Facebook viewers, and in 24 hours it reached 10 million people, what we aim for. I knew that I won my parliamentary seat at about 8:30 p.m. that night. So I was already excited like never before. I remember that it really felt like it was a dream come true. But in less than a few hours, we also knew that the burden on our shoulders was exceptional. The sense of duty and responsibility overwhelmed us in less than 24 hours. When you sideline young people from the democratic process, and when the democracy is seen to feed the interests of the elites, then people lose faith in democracy. It's about bringing more and more young people in every single layer of decision making. It's not just about having a minister in cabinet. That makes me a token. I believe we can reverse this trend if democracy truly fulfills its intent and purpose, which is about returning power back to the hands of the people and to never forget the vulnerables within that community who need to have their voices represented. I want all groups of young people to feel that they're empowered, so that they know that their voices will be heard by this new government, that no matter what field they are in, that they are decision makers who are young, that in the end, after this term, young people as a whole will feel a lot more empowered than before. They are free, they are critical thinkers, they are decision makers. That no one can ever look at them and say that just because you are 16, 18 or 25, that you should not have a say in a nation building agenda.